Okay, hello everyone. Today I am so excited. I can barely contain myself. I'm going to be doing a first impressions on the Pat McGrath. What is this even called? One of her Mothership palettes. I'm pretty sure it's Bronze Seduction. Oh, it's right on the front. Bronze Seduction. The only thing though, well, first of all, okay, hold on. Let me get into the story of this. It's not a story at all. Okay, well, I got a gift card for Sephora for my birthday, which was at the end of July, for $150, and I decided to buy this. So I only actually bought or paid $20 in total for this palette. I've been wanting a Pat McGrath palette for so long. I have two of her smaller ones. I have the Celestial Divinity and something else that was like peachy. And I just have wanted one of these large Mothership palettes, and I just decided to bite the bullet and go ahead and do it. It's not really biting the bullet, but using my gift card, you know? The only thing is that I don't know why. Maybe she's changed the packaging on some of these, but like this is just a box. It's not like one of those like the boxes with the strings. I bought this from Sephora. I don't know if like the packaging is different. It doesn't super bother me, but I probably won't keep this box for that reason. I mean, the packaging is beautiful for sure, but it's not quite like the same as the other packaging, I feel. And so this is the palette. I haven't even peeled off the sticker on the front. I already know I'm going to get this so dirty, but for now it's nice and pristine. It's so shiny. You can see my ring light reflected in there. And this is what the palette itself looks like. It's truly a thing of beauty. It's so nice. I can't even just get over it, to be honest. So I really go back and forth on like luxury eyeshadow, like Pat McGrath, Natasha Denona, and whether like it's quote unquote like worth it. Obviously that's gonna be very relative to everyone individually and your own individual budgets and all that stuff. But these shimmer shades, especially like these four on the end, are just so sparkly and so beautiful, more than I even anticipated. And the mattes, I mean, look at the depth. You know that I love a good deep matte. And yeah, so I haven't used this on my eyes, but I have swatched it a couple times and they truly look so magical. So as per my usual first impressions kind of thing, I always swatch my palettes out just because it's fun and I like to do it. So let's just swatch this Pat McGrath palette out together. The first shadow is the shade Skin Show Divine Glow. This is just basically a satin, like light goldy peachy shade. This is like nothing really super special, I feel. It's just, yeah, like a satiny goldy peach. Then we have the shade Entrapment, which is a matte brown. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. Then we have the shade Bronze Blaze. I'm just reading off the back of this palette here. So this is Bronze Blaze. This is a really beautiful, super sparkly bronze shade. It's so sparkly and so beautiful. Next up is one of her like special shades. This is the shade Rose Gold 005. So this is, as the name would suggest, a rose gold shade, and again, so sparkly. So sparkly, so pretty. And then this is like another of the like more special shades in the palette. This is the shade VR Fire Opal, and this is like the greeny pink shade on the end. not as sparkly, but still not quite as like textured sparkly as the other two that I just swatched, but it is still sparkly and reflective, and it has a beautiful shift to it. It's so pretty. Like, I think if you have a ton of like shifty, multi-chrome, sparkly indie shadows, this isn't going to like blow you completely away, but like objectively, it's still a really, really beautiful, sparkly, shifty shadow. Then we have the shade Extreme Aubergine, which is a dark plum. This is beautiful. I'm so excited to use that. And then beside that is the shade Guilty Pleasure. Now this looks really beautiful. I feel like it doesn't swatch the best, but this is basically a metallic taupe, not quite as sparkly as the other shades that I swatched, but it does still have like textured sparkle to it. I think it's really pretty personally, but it's definitely not quite as like textured, super, super special like the other ones that I swatched already. Then there's another matte. This is the third matte in the palette called Disobedient, which is a darker matte brown. It's like pretty neutral, maybe has like a little bit of a purple undertone. Then we have this shade that I'm probably going to use today. This is the red in the palette. It's the shade Blitz Flame, which is just a metallic red. It's probably the least sparkly shade in the palette. It's really smooth, but almost like a satin red. I feel like generally for reds, they must be like difficult to formulate in like metallic form, because I don't really have a super, super sparkly red. And then we have another special shade. I believe this is like the sparkly like topper shade of the palette. It's the shade Astral Luna Gold. The names are so hard to read. And it feels like more gritty in the palette, but it's so beautiful. It's like a yellow gold, super, super sparkly shadow. Has pretty much just like a transparent base with like gold glitter. But it's so pretty. And I think for me, this really is an exciting palette. It's an exciting neutral palette because you have a variety of textures, you have different tones, you have deep mattes. And I just think like for a neutral palette, if I'm gonna pay not that I personally paid that much money, so that would, I think, regardless of whether you like can try to be like as objective as possible, the amount of money that you pay for something definitely does factor into how you feel about it, in my opinion, or at least it does for me. So I would think that I would be overly like super, super critical of it if I spent $170 of my own money for this. Obviously I use like gift card money, but that doesn't really count. So let's zoom in and just do a look, although I think that I'm going to reach into another palette for a transition shade, just because this is already pretty dark and I'm just trying to like have a nice look, you know, and I would, if I'm going to use this palette, I'll probably reach for some type of just like transition shade just for blending. Obviously, whether or not you are going to do that will be dependent on your skin tone and stuff, yada yada, you already know. So just to like stay with the bougie theme of this video, I'm going to just go into my Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and I'm just gonna start with the shade Rope. It's basically like a little bit of a warmer toned like brown, like a camely brown. So I'm just going to quickly run this through my crease. I'm going to use the red shade today and probably the purple shade. I'm just going to also probably do a half cut crease. Nothing super crazy. I'm just excited to use this palette, to be honest. Alright, so that transition shade is laid down. My hair is never going to look good, okay? So I think I have to just accept that. Anyway, I'm going to start with the shade Entrapment right here, which is that, it's the lightest of all the browns. It's like a mid-toned brown. I have used Pat McGrath's mattes before. The only, like, I've used her, whatever, her shadow formulas, and I already know that I like them, but I've never used, I think, her special shades, which are reserved for her Mothership palettes, although I know there are a lot of people that are like super into Pat McGrath and like know all the like ins and outs of like her formulas, and certain formulas are only made in Italy and others aren't made in Italy, and like some palettes are just made in the States, and that means that it's a different formula. I don't know. So maybe I'm wrong about some stuff, but as far as I understand, her like special shades, her really like textured blitz shade, I don't know. Her like special sparkly shades, as far as I understand, are only in her Mothership palette. So that is the formula that I have never tried. But her mattes are just like probably one of my favorite matte formulas ever. I just think they're so buildable and they're so easy to blend while still giving me depth, which is something that just Natasha Denona hasn't gave me, or hasn't. I just feel like she doesn't give as much. The only palette that I have from Natasha Denona, mind you, is the Metropolis, but I feel like she could have gone deeper, and I feel like she could have gone deeper with all of her, or every time I look at a Natasha Denona palette, I'm like, but you could have gone deeper and you didn't. And Pat McGrath, I feel like I never really have that problem. And it's like just a dream to blend. Like, look at this. It's like magical. So I think I generally am a fan of Pat McGrath in comparison to Natasha Denona if we're like looking at the more like expensive, super expensive luxury like eyeshadow makeup brands. I guess there's Viseart in there as well, but Viseart just doesn't do it for me at all. So I don't even really like keep them on my radar at all. Honestly, this blends so well that I probably could have gotten away with using this as a transition shade. It's just a dream. It's a dream. Now I'm going to take the shade Extreme Aubergine, which is this dark eggplant shade. And I'm just going to use this to deepen my crease up. Again, just taking it through my outer corner and like bringing it all the way through. I mean, there's nothing even that I have to say about this. It's just like builds and blends so beautifully. Okay, so I can't remember if I said I was going to do a half cut crease or not, but I'm not. I'm going to just keep it simple and just do the thing that I've dreamed of doing since I've imagined myself owning this palette. And I'm going to take the shade, what is this called? Blitz Flame, which is the red here. This brush that I'm using is stained, but it's clean. And I'm just going to take that on a flat brush. I am going to spray it because I always spray my like metallic shadows. And I'm just going to put this all over my lid. Super bright, super smooth, but not like sparkly. But like, that's a really beautiful red. And this formula is definitely different from like any of her other metallic formulas I've used. It feels different. Oh my god, that's so pretty. Wow, that's so pretty. Like, holy shit. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of Entrapment and run this along the front of my brow. Yeah, I definitely, like, it looks deep when you look at it in the pan, and especially when you swatch it as well, but I think that I could legitimately use this as like a transition shade without having to reach into another palette. It would be a little bit deeper, but it just, you can sheer it out, I think, pretty well. And then I'm going to just use this to merge everything onto my lid as well. Just blend this red out. And then I'm going to take Extreme Aubergine and run this deep in my crease, like, again, through the front part, and then also use this to blend out the shimmer as well. So it's not like a super harsh line. Then I'm also going to deepen my outer corner with this as well. And then I'm going to just go back, before I go back in with any shimmers, into the Natasha Denona shade and just run this all along my shadow just to like blend everything out. Now I'm going to go into the red shade with my finger and just tap this all over my lid just to re-intensify it. It's really, again, not sparkly at all, but there's something about it that makes it just like, it's really bright, it's really smooth, so it still has like an impact of a red shadow, but I don't even mind that it's not sparkly, which is shocking because I thought that I was actually going to be more disappointed in this shade. And now I'm going to go in with something that I'm very excited for. I'm going to go in with Astral Luna Gold, which is just this sparkly topper gold shade on my finger. I mean, look at that. That's so textured. And I'm just going to basically tap this all over my lid. That's so pretty. I wonder if this has actual glitter, because that's what it low-key feels like, and I don't buy pressed glitter because it's bad for the environment, but this feels like it might be. Glitter. Oh, holy shit. Can you guys see that? That's insane. That's so nice. That is a lovely, beautiful, sparkly shade. I feel like I should be going to a party, but I am not. I am at home. Going nowhere because it's a Monday of a long weekend. But my girlfriend's making bolognese tonight, which I'm very excited for. I love a pasta. Okay, that's not relevant at all, but this is like so beautiful. Oh my god. Whew. That's fucking nice. And now I'm going to take the shade Skin Show Divine Glow, which is this satin shade, the very first shade that I swatched. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of this and use this to highlight my brow bone. All right, so that is my top lids done. I'm just going to do the same thing on my bottom. I'm going to take the shade Entrapment, which I used, in my crease, and blend this everywhere. And I'm going to take a pencil brush and the shade Extreme Aubergine and just darken my lash line with this. And then I'm just going to blend everything out with the shade from the Natasha Denona palette just to keep it all continuous. I don't know. So I'm going to take the shade Rose Gold 005. I'm going to take that just on another like flat brush, and I'm going to give this one spray. I'm going to put this on my inner corners just because I want to use another shade, to be honest. Oh, you guys, I know these are so sparkly. They're so pretty. Yeah, I'll bring this onto like the front part of my lower lash line as well, just to bring the sparkle, you know? Maybe I'll use my pinky to intensify this a little. And then, and then maybe I'll just wipe my brush off and I'll take a little bit of that Skin Show Divine Glow shade and just lightly tap over it just to lighten it a bit, but I still want to keep that sparkle there. I'm less worried about making this like a cohesive, super amazing look, and I just want to like use the shadows. So I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. All I'm gonna do is I have like literal eyes full of glitter, and then I'm just going to finish up my like face, do my eyes, and then do my lips, and then give you my thoughts, which I think you can probably already tell there. Okay, and this is a finished look. I did a pretty big wing, and then I put a black, I just used the Pat McGrath like black single that I have. I put that on my outer corner and then all along my lower lash line, and then on my lips I have two NYX lip pencils. I use the shade Cold Brew and the shade Sandstorm, and then I have MAC Yash lipstick on my lips. And my lashes are Bold Face Makeup lashes in Forget Me Not, the style Forget Me Not. So, okay, so my first impression thoughts are that I love this palette so much. I feel like I'm going to the club, but I'm not. I'm going nowhere. I'm going to paint my nails and then I'm going to eat pasta. But this palette is just, here's the thing, if you're going to charge me $170 for a palette, ridiculously expensive, but at least give me two things. Give me really beautiful textured shadows and give me deep mattes, because those are like the two parts, my two favorite like parts of eyeshadow, is having like really special, sparkly, beautiful metallics, and then also having like really deep, rich, saturated mattes. And Pat McGrath really does give me that, you know? In comparison, I want to say to like Natasha Denona, because I feel like in my mind, there's like Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, like those are kind of like the really two biggest luxury eyeshadow, you know, formulas, brands that are releasing really expensive palettes. And so I've tried the Metropolis palette from Natasha Denona and I like it, you know, but I just feel like if I had to choose one, Pat McGrath really just gives me what I want in eyeshadow. At the end of the day, you are buying like the luxury of this palette, right? It's like super heavy. The packaging is so luxe and beautiful, and it's like a piece of like, you can tell if you didn't know anything about makeup and you picked this up, you could tell that this was like a fucking expensive as shit palette. And so that's also like part of what you're paying for. But the actual shadows are so beautiful. I really do love them. Is it like enough for me to be like, yes, go out and like spend your hard-earned money on like this ridiculously expensive eyeshadow palette if you know, don't really feel like you want to buy a luxury eyeshadow palette? No. But if you want to buy something that's really nice, if you want to have or like save for however long period of time, save up for this palette, I don't think you'd be disappointed, because it really is so beautiful. And you have pretty much basically all of the metallics are really beautiful and textured. This like taupey shade isn't quite as sparkly, but it definitely still has sparkle to it. And then there's this like one satin shade that's like the only shade in the palette that's like meh for me, but I mean, I definitely would use it, you know. It does really seem like I'm very hardcore sucking Pat McGrath's dick, okay? Like, it feels like I'm super biased, and maybe I am, I don't know. I just like really have enjoyed using Pat McGrath's formulas, and I think it's really beautiful, and I honestly can see myself reaching for this all of the time. And I'm so excited to use this more, and I'm so excited to have it because it's so lovely. It's so lovely. Truthfully, like, now I just want to buy all of her Mothership palettes. Oh my god, I definitely think I'm going to do a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette, because I feel like even though it's a neutral palette, a 10-pan neutral palette, I feel like there's so much you can do with it. So I think I want to do that as well. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like Pat McGrath? Do you think it's grossly over expensive, which I also agree that it is, but I have to say that like I thoroughly enjoyed myself playing with this palette, and I'm excited to use it more. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.